This is Ashana from the Falzer Club podcast, a microdose of music and purpose for the Falzer Club. The Falzer Club is a music venue in the East Falls section of Philly that combines music and activism to foster community with the mission to make the world a better place for everyone. Today I am with Jill Sobule, who will be performing at the Falzer Club Friday, June 7th at 8 p.m. with Sierra Grace. Jill is a Denver-born songwriter, guitarist, singer who writes deeply personal and socially conscious songs that can take one on an emotional roller coaster of memories and feelings, with songs that never shy away from all the emotions that make us human. She has tackled such topics as death penalty, anorexia, shoplifting, reproduction, depression, LGBTQ issues. She's been on the TED stage. Her songs have been featured in movies, The Simpsons. She has multiple theater credits, including her latest musical work, Fuck Seventh Grade. I could go on and on. Jill, I am so grateful to have you with me today.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to talk to you.
Well, this is a little dream, and I will tell you that there's many musical influences that you've had on me. And I'm really happy to get together and have a little chance to chat. So one of the things, you have a little patch on your website that says, "Music is my only friend." How did you get started with music? Was there a search for connection? And
Jeepers, let me think. Well, I have an older brother, 6 years older than me, and he had the kind of local band in town in junior high and high school, and I wanted to be like my brother, and so my first instrument was drums, but somehow my parents convinced me that guitar was a much nicer instrument. I'm sure it was horrible to be around, but so. And I was unaware at the time. I picked up guitar and I wanted to be like Jimi Hendrix. I wanted to be a rocker, and unaware at the time I didn't think about it that at that time there were really no women role models. So I just, I was the only girl guitar player in my stage band in junior high and in high school, and I started playing and started writing songs, but I didn't. The songs I wrote, I just kept to myself, and I didn't really play out in public with my own songs until after. It was my third year abroad in college. I mean, at the time earlier, I thought, who makes a living? It's not a very wise move to become a musician. But somehow by accident, by busking on the streets in another country, and a guy saw me and invited me to play his nightclub. And I think that's what started it.
Wow, what country?
Spain.
That's amazing. I'll confess that I backpacked through Europe when I was young and definitely played my guitar in the subways of Paris, but I swear people gave me money so that I would just quietly go home.
I'm sure I wasn't that good, but I think if that guy hadn't walked by when I was busking and asked me to play his nightclub, I wonder if I would be doing something completely else. Different. It seems like a lot of what I've done was why I keep doing this is a series of accidents almost.
I would say I think that's how most of our lives unfold. I don't know that many people who have like such specific plans, and I think if you do, I probably don't connect very well with them.
I had no idea what the heck I was going to do with my life. And so I started going to open mic nights and then getting my own night and then doing this and then dropping out of school. And when I was in Denver at one show. Some guy from a label happened to be in Denver. I think he was on a ski trip, and he signed me. And that's when I did my first record. So again, if that guy hadn't come into the joint, I might have done something completely different.
That's a great story. That's amazing. Right? We never know where we're going to end up. What other career do you think you would have had?
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an international spy. I wasn't sure how that, or a detective. I wanted to be a detective, but actually, I went to school for international relations or international affairs. That was the title, and I did have international affairs when I was in Spain, but I didn't. I you know like I said, in high school, in the first year of college, I thought, who makes a living doing music? And, that's a silly thing. So even though that was my love and music, I didn't think of it as a possibility of a career.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, right, we have this is happenstance at times, like right place, the right time. And going back to, like, sometimes we don't know how we influence people. I mean, your iconic song, I Kissed a Girl, was the first openly gay themed song that cracked the Billboard Top 20. And honestly, it like publicly legitimized the feelings of so many closeted bi and lesbian women who felt misunderstood. It was suddenly like, I don't know, I think it opened so many worlds for people. And we all know that your version is the real version, and we're just going to leave it at that. You you have a line in the song that I'm not, me for not quoting it directly, but says you kissed a girl and that won't change the world. But truly, Jill, that song changed lives.
Well, oh my God, that makes me feel so great. And in the last years, when I sing that song, I do sing, "It changed the world." So I've changed my lyric over the last 15, 20 years. It was really funny when I wrote that song. I didn't even think, it was going to be on the record. I didn't think the label would go for it, and it was. I recorded it as kind of a lark, even though the song that I wrote, wishing there was a song like that when I was a kid. And, I realized how the label allowed it to get in, and how I wrote it was that I knew that on the surface it had to be kind of light and funny, so I could get away with the insidious gay agenda, which I was hoping to do. Didn't quite know what the impact was going to be, but I put it out there, seeing what the best would be. I mean, there were things that I wish would have been different. Originally in the video, I was going to have a kiss with the neighbor girl, which would have been fantastic. It would have been the first kiss on MTV, between two women or two men, and but at the last minute, the label chickened out, and instead of the kiss, they had me pregnant with Fabio's baby, which was such a disappointment. Which to me, would have had even more of a little impact, but it was fighting with the label, because I saw it as a queer song, whereas they started thinking of it as a cute little novelty song. So it was a fight.
That's a male point of view, right? As long as you're pregnant from Fabio, then it can be a cute little male fantasy, I think.
Oh my God, I remember I went on, do you remember, he's such an ass, Dr. Drew?
Yeah.
he had Love Line with him and Adam Carolla, and they had me on, and the whole point of it was that, to tell the listeners that if the young listeners that even if they have a crush on the same sex, it doesn't necessarily mean they're gay. It's just, that's part of growing up, and that was their whole reason for me being there. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So, but I am so proud of the song. For a while, I stopped playing it as I was, it was kind of a double-edged sword because it was a thing that, like I said, the label was kind of putting it as a novelty song. It wasn't a novelty artist, and I wonder if my career, if I would have done better as some of my other peers on the label, if I hadn't had I Kissed a Girl and had to deal with that and the kind of blowback from it. But like 10 years ago or 15, I've totally taken it back. And the thing about the Katy Perry one was, which was fun, but there was a lot of 13-year-old girls that accidentally bought my record, which I thought was great.
Well, that was lucky for them. Since the time when that came out, we've made so much progress. And then today, it feels like we're backtracking on that. And I don't know, I think it's really frustrating. I'm raising a queer daughter, and I worry about her future for so many reasons. We visited my best friend recently, and Robin gave my daughter a pile of books that my daughter referred to as old lesbian wisdom, which included Stone Butch Blues, and I don't remember the other.
Oh my God!
But it made my daughter so happy, and she was like, "We need older lesbian mentors." And I'm just wondering, how do you think it's possible to help the younger generation of LGBTQ youth to find their way to be able in this time when things feel so divided to celebrate just who they are?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. Well, first of all, I think it's good that people know their history and what people went through. Like for me, earlier, learning what my elders went through when there were, raids and pre-Stonewall and what they had to go through. And because I think you have to arm yourself with it and appreciate that. I honestly feel that we're not going back. That in the I just think we have to be vigilant. And I know you worry about your daughter, and I worry about the younger generation, especially trans kids, but I think we have to be vigilant. We have to fight back, but I honestly think that we're not going back. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I mean, that's my optimistic side.
I love your optimistic side too, and I hope you're right on that. I do worry. How did you decide that your path to making a difference in this world was going to be through honest lyrics and really addressing so many important issues?
I was always kind of a little activist. I meant, as a little kid, I remember I couldn't wait to get back home from school to watch the Watergate trials. I don't remember what happened, but in grade school, we all wore black armbands when I think it was Ohio State or something, Kent State. So I think even before when I was starting music, and I was really influenced by some of the folkies that were, and even some of the R&B artists that were activists and protest singers, from John Prine, who wrote that Your Flag Decal Won't Get You Into Heaven Anymore, to Gil Scott-Heron, The Bottle, Whitey on the Moon. And for some reason uh, you know, I don't know why. My parents were very liberal and active in the Democratic Party, but I don't know where I got that, but I was a little lefty when I was a kid, so I think that has followed me and impacted my art.
Mm. Yeah, just tell me about how how you created the Island of Lost Things.
The Island of Lost Things. Well, actually, it's one of my favorite songs that I've written. I sometimes go through periods of not writing, and I have to get myself back into that mindset. I mean, I always think that waiting for inspiration or that's bullshit. You have to. It's like waiting for inspiration to go out and run or jog. No, you really got to force yourself to do it when you haven't done it for a while. So I give myself little exercises to start. Like I can't do okay, I'm going to sit down and write a song. I just can't do that. It's like it's too much anarchy, so I have to create a little frame around that. So I give myself little assignments, and I remember this one was okay. Well, I'm absent-minded. I've always been my entire life, and I leave things everywhere. Like every hotel room has something of mine. So I was like, okay, just make a list of things that you've lost. And so I started doing that, and then my mind went to other places, and it started becoming a thing, not just lost objects, but what you've lost in life, what you're afraid of losing, and it became a real song and something much deeper than listing the items that I lost in a hotel room. So that's where that came from the seeds of an assignment to get myself to start writing again.
I love the line, "I lost a person I could blame."
Yeah, I know that's so awesome. I think about it. Like, a breakup that I had like 10 years ago that was really devastating. And there's something amazing about having that, the pain and holding on to it. And when you lose that, it becomes kind of more indifference and you don't think about that person anymore. In a certain way, that's a loss because you've lost the kind of purpose, you've lost something to hold on to. So that's kind of where that line was in a way.
When you want to relax, what music do you listen to?
Interesting. It's so changed because sometimes if I listen to more contemporary with lyrics, I sometimes don't relax because I'm analyzing and I'm listening to it. And so lately, I've been listening to I've been I've been listening to a lot of modern classical and jazz from the 30s and 40s and more kind of avant-garde and things without lyrics actually. So I don't stop. I can be in more of a blissful state and I don't have to stop and analyze. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Because gives you a little more space for your mind to imagine where it wants to go.
Yeah, but then I love when I'm on trips with friends. I'm the DJ, so and I make a mix of new songs and old songs, and so that's when I do a lot of my listening.
You're
But
making me wish I could go on a road trip with you.
I know it's a good time.
I bet it is. You know, the music industry has changed so much since you got started. What advice do you have for musicians trying to make it today? I know in our venue, like we have some musicians that come in, and we're a young venue. We're babies. We're just getting started. You know, we'll have great musicians that come in, and sometimes we have a big crowd, sometimes we have a tiny crowd, and sometimes like that doesn't make sense. Like, what advice do you have for the musicians that are like trying to like just get started and trust themselves?
You know, I think that there's so many challenges today. I mean, really, when I started, there were so many venues that you could play. You could go to open mic nights. There was something going on, and this was in Denver every night. And so you would try out songs. I think there's no substitute for playing out a lot and trying out things. And I don't know if there's that. You know, it seems more geared towards social media and you know, alone in a room doing something on TikTok. But I don't think there's a substitute too for and trying out songs. And maybe this is just being a performer, you know, being out there a lot. And whether that's busking on the streets through Europe or doing an open mic night or getting any kind of gig, great or shitty you can, is being out there and comfortable. I think that's a good thing. And also, I think, you know, that there's such crap out now, but there's also such great stuff out now. And the thing that I always say to people is figure out what makes you who you are and what makes you different rather than trying to emulate an artist or what you think is going to be popular or your favorite artist, even though you can't help but do that, but your own take on it at least. So I think it's two things is being able to perform, whether that's in front of your friends or at a gig, and try out your songs and feel comfortable. And the other thing is to highlight or figure out what makes you different.
Great advice.
Yeah, I mean that's just the beginning, but it's so different now. I mean, when I started, and you know, when I got my first record deal, that the industry was so different. People bought music. You know, I don't know how people can, other than being a trust fund kid or having two jobs can move to New York City or LA, and well, you don't have to these days, but can have a career, make a living with music. I think it's a lot harder. So. It's just that, and when I started with the label, there was a middle class of artists. You know, to me, it's like the Hunger Games. You know, you're either at the bottom or there's that little 0.01%. So I think it's more challenging, but I think, you know, you've got the advantage of social media, which I didn't have.
Yeah, things have definitely changed and shifted. It'll be interesting to see what the next 10 years bring. I feel like at the club we're just dedicated to trying to build community. and still trying to find out kind of what that means. We do a little bit of mix of activism, and we're completely devoted to music and helping local people. And
I think that's so great. And you know what? There just might be a trend of coming trend of people like wanting to get out of their house again.
I hope so. Trying to get people out of their house and dance. Hopefully we'll have some dancing when you come.
Yeah, that's what I know.
So what's next for you? Like, what's still on your bucket list? You've done so many things, and I know you're doing some house concerts. I saw some house concerts with chickens. That make me laugh. Your desire to be a spy. What's next?
I think, well, I'm working on a book. I really love working on theater. And I think that's it. And also, I just want to go out and have life experiences. I just want to travel. There's a part of me, it's the first time and in my life, I think that I'm like, oh, maybe I just want to go for a month and not do any music, but just explore, and that's the kind of thing that then you can write about. I think I'm a part of me is a touch burnt out, I have to say. I think you're just talking because I've just been on the road constantly for the last 2 months. So I'm looking forward to maybe just chilling out and really writing. I think sometimes when I'm on the road, I think I know this, it's hard for me to write, to change gears. It's like I'm in a hotel room after a gig. Do I want to write or do I want to watch, something on TV before I go to bed? And that seems like a way easier thing to do. So I think my next thing is to slow down and write and explore and write about what I'm finding out. That's it.
Yeah, I think we all forget about like the self-care and that need to slow down because we have such a consumer energy, whether it's, I don't know, there's a million like social media, and there's just constant input and multitasking, and I think most people I know are burnout. And so it makes me happy to think that your goal is to sort of slow down, right? Because then we see what comes out of that, and we kind of find really what's in our hearts and what we need.
Yeah, I think that's my next goal, and to figure out whether that's a book or another musical, is to kind of get, feel, like I said, as you get older, it's like being on the road is hard. It's tiring. Not complaining. I love it, and I love it still. I love performing, but I think sometimes I don't realize that there are limits. So yeah, that's it.
Slowing
I look
down.
forward to doing like doing nothing for a couple of weeks. That sounds divine.
Good. Do you have that built into your schedule, or is that sort of distant future?
It's kind of a distant future.
Because
in August. In August, I might have a few weeks, and I might go visit a friend in somewhere. We every 2 years we go somewhere on the planet.
Good. That sounds perfect. Yeah, unless we schedule it, it doesn't happen because life has a way of filling up our time.
Yeah, and it's hard because I still love I don't love touring. I don't like the traveling and having to get up early and the lack of sleep and the 6 hour car rides. But I love performing, and I feel like I'm at home with it. But you do have to know your limit, you know. So
I would love for you to share a song with us, and we can play a little snippet of it. Is there a song that's resonating for you that you would like
yeah,
to
well, why don't we do Island of Lost Things since we talked about it?
share? That sounds perfect. Okay, we're going to take a brief little musical interlude and play a snippet from Jill's song, Island of Lost Things.
I lost my keys, I lost my heart, I lost my car in the parking lot, lost my voice but can hear sing from the island of lost things. I lost my phone, I lost my way, I lost the hours of the day. Grandma's ring swirled down the drain to the island of lost things, the island of lost things. I lost my shirt, I lost my aim, I lost the person I could blame. I wish I could recall his name, the island of lost things. My mom was not a hoarder, she threw everything away. My 45's my favorite toys, shoebox full of Polaroids, plastic on the good couch, everything was clean. A vacuum bag of treasures in the island of lost things. I lost my wallet, my ID. Is someone else becoming me? My girlfriend somewhere on the seas, to the island of lost things. I'd like to book a trip there, and maybe I could find, traipsing through the ruins, the dream I left behind. I'd put it in my pocket, and I'd clip its wings, so we could never fly again to the island of lost things.
Oh,
Yay!
yeah, I love that song so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for all of the beautiful music and honesty that you have brought into our world and shared with us. I appreciate your vulnerability and just your willingness to be who you are and set that as an example for others.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to hanging out and seeing you in Philly.
Same. All right. This was Ashana with the Falzer podcast, and today I was with Jill Sobule, who will be performing at the Falzer Club Friday, June 7th at 8 p.m. with Sierra Grace. We hope to see you there. Be well, be creative, and make a difference.